Very happy that you all are here. Okay, so we're going to come up in a couple of minutes, if not in a couple of minutes, just in a hot second, so the audience can say, huh? You're up right now? Really? 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 So let me just test everybody. We're on live now. Dr. Amar,
Yes, I can hear you.
Representative Reynolds,
Hey.
Chaparral,
I'm here.
Attorney Jones.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, everybody. I know you guys, everybody who's coming on. This is the late edition of the Santita Jackson Show. I was going to call it Santita Jackson After Dark, but that has really crazy connotations today. But there was a show that Hugh Hefner used to host. It was Playboy After Dark, and it was a big show back in the day. Back in the day. They were as seminal and as consequential as interviews in the magazine were. So we're up in two, one. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let's talk about ICE in Chicago, in Portland, the No Kings March. Boy, they had more than 7 million people who showed up. And really, it was hard to calculate because Chicago had one march, I think, with 250,000, but then you had huge gatherings all over the city because, of course, ICE, well, they're here along with other federal agencies. What's interesting is something else is happening. On the ground, you're beginning to see a lot of TikTok videos. Maybe you've seen them, everybody, where the police are protecting the people. Who knew, right? They are not letting ICE attack the citizens. I love it. I'm here for all of it, everybody. And I think it's a great thing. Look, I love the police. I don't like to see corruption on the police force because we need our police. Who runs into trouble but police and firefighters and all people who are on the front lines, including your minister, right? So you've got to respect that. And we have to help them help us. And we're watching them help us. And it's a wonderful thing to see. Like I said, I'm here for all of it. But what is happening? What is happening? I mean, the No Kings March brought out everybody. They were talking about ICE. They were talking, hey, Andre, they were talking about the government shutdown. They were talking about our health care. There was so much that, there is so much that has got the American public animated and involved. And I'm excited about that. And I'll tell you why. This form of government, having a constitutional republic as opposed to a constitutional monarchy, requires your involvement. This American project will not work without you. You've got to be involved. You've got to be involved. It requires that each citizen be fully enfranchised. That's why we have to fight for the vote. We're going to talk about that with Attorney Darrell Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition, because that's a big deal. We've got to talk about what it will mean for us in 2025, going into 2026, moving forward in this America without full enfranchisement, which is what voting rights gave not just to Black people, but to everybody. If Black people can have their voting rights, our voting rights, undermined, removed from us, everybody's vulnerable. Remember, at the founding of the Republic, everybody didn't have the right to vote. You had to be property, you had to be white, you had to be male. So let's talk about all of this. Let's talk about our voting rights. Let's talk about the No Kings March. And let me give a special shout out to Abby Phillips. We're running a little behind today because we just attended an event where Abby Phillips has written a book about Reverend Jesse Jackson and his fight for Black political power. And really, it was an empowerment, as we saw at this event tonight. It empowered Arab Americans. It empowered progressive whites. It empowered women. It empowered the LGBTQ plus community. It brought white farmers who had been ignored, who had been buried, Black farmers. It brought everybody into a place in American politics where they were empowered. And so we thank her. I haven't been able to read the whole book. I haven't finished it. But she brought up a lot of interesting facts about Reverend that I'm sure you do not know, like how the Republicans were in hot pursuit of him. And he would turn them down with offers of huge amounts of money. because he felt that he needed to remain independent. That is what our people needed. Oh boy, we need that today. We need that today. And we thank God for his life and his living. And we thank you, Abby, for being so, my soror. Thank you for being so sensitive because in this moment, we need to know his story. We need to know his story because it can help to guide us on in this moment in which we find ourselves, in which we find ourselves living under military rule. And, you know, Chaparral made the point as we were going downtown today that they were supposed to be sending the National Guard into Chicago, and they have not been deployed yet because a wise judge has said, no, not yet. They have not sent them into the high crime areas, which is interesting. And I want you to explain your thinking behind that, Chaparral, in a hot second. But it's very interesting. You can walk around downtown in the middle of the night, they are not there, and neither is the crime. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the pushback that we're seeing all across the country. Let's hope that the No Kings March and marches going forward will turn into voter registration drives. We can beat back this pull on our voting rights of Representative Reynolds and Dr. Amar and Attorney Jones and Chaparral Wells, but we've got to over-index in the vote. That's what we did. That's how you got Barack Obama in. If you get people registered to vote, we can make it. That is something that Reverend Jackson did better than anybody in America in the history of the Republic. He registered more people to vote than anyone in history. So we over-indexed. We voted our true numbers. And we voted at a rate of more than 95%. And when we do that, we can win. We cannot be on a major drive to register the 900,000 Black and brown people in the state of Texas alone who are not registered to vote. That's how Jasmine can win. That's how Al Green can win or come close to it. That's how Mike Vesey can win. That's how they can win. This is a fight. It's a fight, and it's a fight for more than black voters. It's a fight for anyone who is living under the downside of advantage. So let's get right to it. First, I want to hear everyone's impressions about about the No Kings marches. And everyone meet me on Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social. And of course, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook, at Santita J on X, and Santita Jackson IG on Instagram. Thank you, Chaparral, for getting me up there. And the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Boy, oh boy. So I think we'll try to help set the table. So the No Kings marches, everybody give me about a minute or so we can move this conversation around. Dr. Amar, what do you make about that?
I am so excited, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I love the fact that it hasn't been a singular event. It has been a continued outreach, and it's bringing in more and more people. I like the fact that, the organizers are thoughtful in their approach to nonviolent protesting. I love the costumes that people have come up with because the counter argument or the counter narrative was that this was some sort of hate rally, right? And it's so ridiculous. And you can exemplify that when you're showing up like in a costume. Like, are you going to arrest Barney today? Are you arresting this great green dinosaur? And so people have brought a fun energy, an exciting and contagious energy to this protest, and that's been much needed. So I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's building a resistance that people are relating to.
Amen to that. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and you spoke at the No Kings rally down in Houston.
I did. And let me say, Santita, it's great to be on with you at night. It's great to be on with you in the morning. I will be on with you anytime because you are on the right side of the issues and having this conversation. It was so much energy. We had thousands of people that came out on a Saturday afternoon to really stand up against authoritarianism and fascism. They were saying that they didn't want to remain silent and they wanted to stand in solidarity with others who were like-minded. When I spoke, I felt the energy of the crowd, and I really was very much proud to see so many people that were like just disillusioned, and they made their own signs. It was very genuine and authentic. The main premise that came out of it was that, hey, we're sick and tired of this. We won't change. We don't want to stay in our house watching MSNBC or CNN. We want to come outside and we want to make some noise. And my message was them to channel that energy to sustain it so that we can win the midterms. And let's not wear ourselves out. Let's register. Let's mobilize. Let's move this to sustained action. And so one of the points I got to say really quickly, Santita, a real observation, and I have to say this, is that there were very few African Americans. The most of the crowd was Anglo, which I'm not knocking that, but that's been the trend that I've seen over since the presidential elections. I haven't seen, and I've attended, this is the second, third, fourth one I've attended. And very few African Americans in a very diverse city, in a very diverse county. And I noticed there was very few of us that were actually in attendance. So I think that there's still some residual resentment that is harboring over from a lot of people of color that are just still not ready to come and attend these rallies. Maybe that wasn't the case in other cities. I'm only speaking for the ones that were, that I witnessed in Texas. So hopefully that is something that we can overcome in order to get them re-engaged, because that is the base for me being biased of the Democratic Party. So I'm hopeful that as we get closer towards the midterms, that we'll see more energy and enthusiasm that from the African American community. So that was
let me ask you this: what is missing in Texas? Now, see what's happening here with ICE, and you've got Governor Abbott, who, of course, is very close to the president administration. So maybe you don't feel the heaviness, the presence of ICE, because Chicago's been targeted, not just because of the mayor and the governor who's ambitious to be president, the mayor who is very progressive. But Chicago is also iconic because it is the most organized political machine in modern American history. So, I mean, the genius of Mayor Daley was that he organized the city down to the block. And then behind him, or should I say, as in his final decade or so, you had Reverend Jesse Jackson, who was organizing Black people and progressives. I mean, because we can't ever underestimate the work that Reverend did on the ground here. That was his assignment for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And then it's just a very active place, right? I mean, it's just, you had a lot of people organizing, but that was, the Reverend's genius is organizing, and this was his place. But so are you not feeling it? Because we're watching Black people get pulled over in Chicago by ICE. We just saw this 19-year-old kid. They chased him to the Walgreens and slammed him on the ground in front of it as his family was shouting, "He's a citizen, he's a citizen." And the ICE agent was very hostile. White man who said, "Get the blank out of here. You don't know what the blank this is." Mm-hmm. And then you had the raid on the apartment building, and there's some other pieces in that apartment building that's in my neighborhood, because the apartment building had been, I'm not going to say mismanaged, it had been mistreated. Mm. So it was in foreclosure. They did not have lights in the hallways, did not have lights in the in the stairwells, all of that. This is not a neighborhood where that is common.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on here. So is that something that you're missing in Houston or in Texas?
I think so. I mean, I'm very proud. Obviously, when we fled Texas to come to Illinois, and were led by the mayor and the governor with warm reception, and the lieutenant governor and the attorney general. I mean, it was very hospitable, and I appreciate the energy. And as soon as we stepped off the plane, Governor Prisker had a press conference ready, and he was on it. And so I think that we're obviously missing that type of fight, that type of bully pulpit that brings the issue to the forefront, that shows that they're part of the resistance. Illinois has been uh, a, a beacon of light in terms of how you push back against an authoritarian bully. Governor Newsom in California has been a role model in terms of the way that he pushed back on the redistricting and pushed the 5 seats in California that are on the ballot right now for the citizens of California to vote on in the constitutional amendment. So that is the kind of bold leadership that I think we need to see more of, and it resonates. It gets people engaged. It gets people fired up. So Illinois is a blueprint for other states, particularly blue states, and how they respond to this, what I would call a crisis. And I think we need more leadership like that. So Illinois set an example. I think you guys had like 250,000, if I'm not
At
mistaken.
least, at least.
More, yeah. That is very impressive without incident. Again, no known violence or anything like that. So that is very impressive, and it shows the kind of leadership that others should seek to follow. So I think that Texas can learn from Illinois in terms of that. I mean, that's not going to happen from Governor Abbott. Obviously, he's complicit. He's bowing to the knees. He's sending our National Guard to Illinois. So clearly, he's been into the knee of a wannabe king, and that's what we were out there speaking out against. So I'm hopeful that Governor Abbott, he's on the ballot in 2026. I made it no bones about it that he should be get a pink slip. We need to fire him, and the lieutenant governor and the attorney general. They're all beholden to President Trump, who is their king, and they bow to him at the knee. And that's why we did the redistricting, because Trump said, hey, I need 5 seats from Texas. He started this domino that led to other states. And so we need more governors and mayors like we see demonstrated in Chicago and Illinois.
Hmm. Chaparral Wells, what are your thoughts?
Well, just to piggyback on what Attorney Reynolds, just to give him some clarity, I know in the Chicagoland area, we made a conscious decision to stay home as Black people, because what we have already witnessed before this event even occurred is that ICE, state police, CPD are very aggressive with African American people.
Hmm.
I was not going to put myself and make myself a target by being in that crowd. We know that there are provocateurs that are out there as well. And so the Black community made a decision not to. Also, me personally, also feel that there is also a onus on white women and Black men to correct the damage that they did by allowing this regime in office. Black women, hands down, we have carried the Democratic Party for the last couple of decades, and we have voted our interests without regret, and we have done our part. But now it is time for them to also take this fight for themselves, because they have to correct this problem. We didn't have a problem. We knew what we had to do. We did what we did. We did what we had to do. But now they have to go out here and correct it. And it's not fair for you to say, hey, you black woman, and you have no solidarity to me and my issues. And so that's what we're seeing here in the black community. And there is some hesitation because every time we go out there and try to save America, we go out there and we save it. And black women, as of right now, are down 300 and some thousand jobs. Who's coming to save us? Not a soul. So we feel that right now, as a black woman, that the world has always never had our back. No one has ever had our back as black women. And so what we're seeing is now, how are you going to fix this damage that you have done? So some of us as black women are sitting here and say, we're going to let y'all fix it. We're going to still vote our interests. I don't want people to think that what I'm saying is that black women are not going to vote. But are we going to be active participants in this? No. You're going to have to come and get our vote and you have to earn it. And you want us to participate, that means that you have to give us something back. And my last comment on the No Kings is, okay, it's a great rally. 7 million people came out. But what are we doing? What is the end game? What is the results that we're looking for? We're having these rallies without any ask. What is the ask that we're asking of our government? Because there's nothing, nobody's going to the table. One of the things I've always learned from Reverend Jackson and all the other civil rights leaders is that we had something to take to the table, and so that we have actionable results. And as after we did these major marches, that there was something that we could actually, hey, this is something tangible that we're seeking. In the No Kings marches, there's nothing tangible being asked for. So to me, unless we're doing some kind of economic boycott and we're trying to get to the table to get them to move to pass this budget, to protect our health care, to put in DEI, protect our voting right, what is our ask? I think that is the bigger question that we need to be asking at this time.
Well, Our Attorney Daryl Jones on WOL in Washington, D.C., every Tuesday at 12 noon with Attorney Barbara Arnwine, Chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. What say you?
Well, Santita, I agree with what most of the panelists have already said. Of course, I'm going to give Shapiro some pushback on saying that black men were not supportive and out in numbers voting. I think the second most loyal base to the Democratic Party was black men, some 87, 88% or somewhere in that range. So there was a lot of support that came out of black men with regards to the past election. But when we're dealing with no kings, one of the things that I think we have to keep in mind is that when we're dealing with the no kings, what we're dealing with at that point is the concept of bringing people together, bringing in the awareness and understanding where we are now. And I'm 100% agreement with Shapiro with regards to what has happened, the 5 million that has now grown to 7 million, and that's a significant number because we know that when we're dealing with autocracies or anything along those lines, that the tipping point at which autocracies become toppled down, knocked down, is 3.5% of the population, which would put us around 9 to 10 million people that are out there protesting and willing to become active in getting rid of the regime that is there. That becomes really significant, and it's a combination of what Shapiro has said and what Representative Reynolds has said. Because right now we're at 7 million folks, and that's 7 million folks before African Americans become fully engaged. The missing element that's there is the African American activists being fully engaged and getting folks out, and then not just getting them registered, but getting them to the ballot box and to elect folks that are consistent with the issues and concerns of the African American community. So I think that's a big push. interestingly, what we're seeing show up at these No Kings rallies, you're not seeing a lot of young folks that are there. That's not the biggest factor that you see that's there. I went to the one that was here in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And I'm out of the DC area, but in Atlanta, Georgia. And I expected in downtown Atlanta to see at least 50% participation out of the African American community of the largest rally, which was 25, 30,000 people that were there. I would estimate that number was probably closer to 10 to 12% of African American participation. Why is that? I agree with your pearls. The legal term, there's a legal term that we use, it's called piss. Black people were pissed about what happened in the election, and they were pissed that folks, did not follow the lead. We were all over the place. We were on radio, we were on, television, we were on podcasts telling folks what to look out for, that this was going to happen. And they went on and did it anyway. And
Mhm.
what do they say? Mess around and find out. They use different language, but I say, mess around and find out. Well, they messed around and now they're finding out. But the positive, the spin that comes off of this, I think, is that now that they've found out, they're trying to take the corrective measure, and that's where the No Kings piece comes in, is to take that initial corrective measure, not to sit back and let anything just happen now, but to realize the situation you're in and start working toward an end ground. How do you respond to it? And particularly with the regime that's in right now, if you're quiet, they're going to continue taking away your rights. If you're quiet. And so the response with these 7 million people that have come out, which are, it would be probably a greater number because there are a lot of rallies that are going on that aren't on anyone's radar that's occurring. But the big part with that is this raising the awareness, is causing the activation, is giving people something to do. And again, I this evening just got off of a call with the new National Christian Leadership Movement right out of the South. And they are now becoming active as a result of what's happening here. They weren't active. They weren't part of No Kings. They took the same position that your Pearl was just speaking of. Wasn't our issue. We warned y'all. Now y'all there. Well, now their position is shifting. They're realizing that we've got to get in this game. We've got to become active. We've got to become a part, and we've got to be part of the push too. The thing with the No Kings, I think, is this: whether your issue is the ICE raids, right, which has a lot of people upset. If your issue is the deportations and how they're being handled how they're being handled, that has a lot of folks upset. Whether your issue is the political retribution and prosecution that's going on, that's got people upset. But you also have people that are upset because of health care being taken away. You have people being upset because of the shutdown of the federal government, the presence of the National Guard, the Epstein files, all of these things you have going on with people that are being upset. And what I think No Kings is doing is it's providing that initial outlet for people to begin to realize that there's something that can be done and to do the pushback. And so the voter registration, as folks have mentioned, is a part of it. But that's only one part. Because if you're registered and you don't vote, then it means nothing. So we've got to be certain that you're registered. That's step one. Step two is being certain to get people to the polls in order to vote and be certain that their vote is being counted and that they're active in the process. And of course, we've got to hold the elected people accountable to be certain that they're carrying out the interests of the people that are saying, this is wrong. I want to move in a different direction. And the last piece, Santita, that I want to push out there is this. One of the things I know that why the No Kings has been so effective and where we are as a community is coming together. Santita, you've heard me say this several times. My 93-year-old aunt that was out of Gary, Indiana, has now moved to Maryland. Since she's been in Maryland, she's never been a part of any type of rally, any type of activation, anything. She's on a walker. She said, nephew, get me to this rally. I need to be there. Okay. And she brought herself to the rally, holding up her sign, right? Protect my vote sign and all that's there. Similarly, I have a 70-some-year-old cousin who's never been politically apolitical. She doesn't like what's happening. She said, I need to be at a rally. Santita, I say this to say there's a nerve that has been struck. And the question right now isn't whether or not we can reach the people, because the people are there and they want to be reached. We've got to be certain that we have the structure, that we have the strategy. As Reverend Jackson, would always say, we need a strategy, we need a plan for what to do. And I think that's where we are now, is that the family has got to come together for that plan. Boy, how we need Dwight McKee right now to help put together that plan
Ah,
and that strategy.
doesn't sound like the conspiracists, but you know what? The work, the body of work remains, and of course, we boy, our hearts are broken as we do miss Dwight McKee. But Dwight said so much, and all you have to do is listen, because at the end of the day, when we were with Abby Phillips tonight, my brothers, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, former congressman, maybe might become congressman again should he win this race, Jesse Jackson Jr. Um, and they talk a lot about the politics, maybe it's because they're in elective office, but I witnessed so much of it and was in it myself. Um, Reverend had to run against the party. We have to remember that it's not that he was anti-democrat, he was just running against the party, and he ran against the black establishment, because the black establishment was not on the revolutionary train, and they still are not. You can look at how they're handling Mamdani, but look at what they're doing with Omar Fateh up in Minneapolis. And I was telling Ariel Gold tonight. I said, Ariel, they don't want to deal with Omar because he is black, not just because he's Muslim. No, 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 no. If he played games on racial politics and was going to be something other than a black man, they would embrace him. But he's doing the same thing that Mamdani is doing in New York, and he's getting no support. I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow again to have him on this show as much as we can, because even the mayor in Minneapolis is trying to he's Somali American. They're trying to play him off against black Americans who have been here for generations from slavery. He said, I'm not trying to play that game. My father told me, because his father came over here as a student. My father said, no, no, son. When I'm stopped by the police, they see a black man. That's all you need to know. That's it. So we have to be real clear on the games that are being played, because united we stand, divided we fall. And I think that's where I understand black people are tired, but the song says, I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe God brought me this far to leave me. So you don't even have that right, with all due respect. If Harriet Tubman didn't get tired, if Fannie Lou Hamer didn't get tired, if Reverend is trying to get up when he can't speak, you got to get up. And not just black people, everybody. Because what are you going to say to John Brown? What do you say? We've had some progressives out here who are not just. I don't want to talk about people who look like me. I don't want to hear that. I want to have. What are your thoughts like? Because at the end of the day, the Republic is at stake. And I think that's what people are recognizing. And I think we all have to come together and understand what the stakes are here. It is that dire, because we are fighting with the oligarchs, when we're looking at one person, Alia. One person. We're not looking at the oligarchs who want to surveil us. They want to purchase all of the media. They want to shut us down. They want to put the military on our streets, because they want to what? They want to make us compliant. They want to frighten us.
It has never been to our advantage to stand down. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Black people in America are the only people who have ever forced this country to do better. We are the only people who have moved the dial legally, to provide not just for our own rights, but for the rights of everyone. When we fight for justice, we fight for everyone's justice.
Mhm.
And you know what? I get it. I get people who are tired because not everyone fights for our justice when we are in dire straits. But you know what? I don't have time to worry about them. Sister Harriet didn't have to wait for all white people to put a lamp in the window. She just needed one on her way until she could get to the next station. So whoever wants to march with me, fight with me, join me, whoever wants to see my struggle and say, yes, I stand with you, fine. And whoever doesn't, I don't even have time to think about you personally because I'm going to fight this fight. And when we're looking at the erosion of the Voting Rights Act, the erosion of the Voting Rights Act, the embracement at the highest levels of the government publicly. This has always been there in the background, but of white supremacy, then we have more skin in the game again. And so no matter what it is that is happening from other people, and I get being disillusioned because yes, we warned and we warned and we warned. But who is it that suffers most as all of the encroachments come in? That's usually us. And so we've also got to be the people that stand up for ourselves constantly. And in
Mhm.
doing so, do we have to save the union again? Well, let's put our capes on one more time, people, because we're living here, right? We're
Yeah.
not going anyplace else. If the union falls, we're here to suffer. Those of us who, don't get out and go someplace else. But we have the best opportunity and the best history of doing this, and we'll do it every single time.
And we can do it. I mean, that's the beauty of it all. But
Yeah.
you know what? And in furtherance of that point, I want to pivot to something that Attorney Jones said, and I certainly want everyone to jump in. But I want you to follow up Representative Reynolds because we're looking at the 2026 midterms. I mean, if my father could right now, he would be so restless about these unregistered voters. He used to say they were in 1983. They were just rocks laying around. You are David. You can take out Goliath. You can do that. But you got to pick up your rock. Now, no one's trying to hurt anybody. No, no, no. But you have so much power. You have more power than you know. And I think that's why when you were talking about this morning, Attorney Jones, you know, the psychology, Dr. Amar, doctor, well, that's the high compliment in the black community when you call someone doctor, but your doctorate is earned, Dr. Amar. But Representative Reynolds and Dr. Shapiro, when you, I mean, we started with, not started, we really, with 9/11, we became compliant because now when you get to the airport, you automatically take off your clothes. You submit. And so now you have ICE who are on who are on no other mission other than to make us submit, to make us compliant, to make us fearful, to make you not fight for your rights at work. We're just supposed to submit, not take a knee, but submit. That's a psychology to submission and to the wrong kind of submission, not to
Learned helplessness is what you're referring to.
learned helplessness. And it's the break in the church, we call it the breaking of the spirit. Slaves are not born, they are made. The thing is, though, y'all, white, black, yellow, brown, we're all being. They're trying to do that to us, and you're going to see it in 2026 if we don't push back at these midterms. If you think that ICE is something else right now, and they come out, Attorney Jones, with their masks on, what will it be like to approach the polls? What's what you made that point this morning, Attorney Jones? Could you elaborate on it? I mean, what is your? You said that your fear, and it's not even fear as much. You just said no, no. You did. You said I'm worried
Hmm.
that going into 2026, these midterms, what the polls are going to look like. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. One of the major concerns that I have, that we have going into this 2026 election, is going to be, what do the polls look like? And when I say what do the polls look like, we know that that they can have ICE at the polls, and it's an intimidation factor that's there. And folks, some people are thinking, well, ICE at the polls, I don't see the issue because only American citizens are voting. Well, you got to remember, a lot of folks that are coming to the polls are going to be coming from mixed households, and so there's going to be an intimidation that's there. Are they going to come to my home and follow me back? Are they going to follow me from the voting booth back? Are they going to question me? Are they going to ask for my credentials to prove that I'm someone and hold me back? Are they going to detain me? All those are potential issues that will be in people's minds, asking themselves the question: do I want to put myself through that? Do I want to put myself in that situation to vote? And the mere fact that you'd have to weigh that consideration is going to impact the number of people that turn out to the polls. It's an intimidation tactic that's going on right now. You're going to see ICE at the polls. I bet you're going to see the National Guard at the polls. You're going to see all of these things in place to try to intimidate and influence voters at the polls. And it's only going to be at particular polling places that it happens. You're not going to see them in a lot of these polling places that are white suburban polling places. You're going to see them at polling places where they can have the highest impact of intimidation of voters of color that they believe may vote a certain way. That's what you're going to see happening. And it's going to be consistent with what you're seeing happen from the Supreme Court right now, that's green lighting a lot of this. Remember, Santita, on one of the shows, we were talking about the Perdomo case, which is Secretary Noem's case, where they green lighted the ICE being able to stop people based on what they look like, where they work, detain them for a period of time, and saying that it's okay. If you look Latino, if you speak with a Spanish accent, if you work in a low paying hands job, landscaping, construction, that's okay. Well, that's also going to be applicable during the period of voting in 2026. So, we see that all of these are going to be coming together. That's my biggest fear, is so when we see all of this coming together and we have the intimidation that's going to be put in place for a lot of folks that will not want to risk their families, will not want to risk coming out to vote in order to save themselves and their family. All of that's going to be coming together. And that's before we get to talking about the gerrymandering case that we just went through at the Supreme Court that may be okay to try to get rid of Representative Reynolds and at least 20 other members we know of the Congressional Black Caucus as a beginning point. So all of those, Santives, all of those factors are going to be coming together. And all of this stuff with making it more difficult for Black and young voters to vote, all of these things are going to be coming together in the 2026 election. I tell people that's what makes me nervous. The Project 2025, when everyone was like, whatever, is a Project 2025, is way off. Folks, this is Project 2025 happening in the 2026 election cycle. That's what we have to be aware of, Santita, and that's what worries me.
But you know what's past is prologue, because coming out of slavery in the Reconstruction period, we had blacks in the U.S. Senate. We
Mhm.
had we had a congressional black caucus. But the pushback on us once we got these rights was to remove them, and they removed them. And that's where we are again. But I want to go back to my brother, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., who is really a scholar in this space. He was talking
Mhm.
about that tonight. But Shapiro Wells, you made the point about where we're not seeing ICE, where we're not seeing this heightened military presence. What did you see, Shapiro?
Well, as you know, Santita, I'm in Cicero, Berwyn area,
No, but
and
describe that for the people who are not. Hannah is in South Carolina. A lot of the
yeah.
audience, we're based in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We got people from all over the country here, who are listening to us and watching us right now.
Well, the Cicero Berwyn area is a highly Hispanic area, and it's right outside, 15 minutes away from Chicago. Across the street, sometimes you're in Chicago, so it's very close proximity to city limits and everything like
It's
that.
it's what we call the Chicagoland area. You walk across the
Yes,
street, you're at. I mean, that's it's all Chicago.
yes. And so basically, what I was saying, what I was saying earlier, was that they are not patrolling the high crime area. When Trump enlisted all of these agents to come to Chicago and the National Guard, he said it's basically we're going to change the crime, bring down crime. They are not in the hood. They are not in places where these high crime areas are. I was just walking downtown around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, and I felt perfectly safe because this notion that Chicago is high crime, it is not. It basically is certain parts of the areas that have this high crime area, and they know where these people are and they
Wait a
know where
minute.
they live,
And
but they're not going there.
well, wait, put a pin in that. And these high crime areas are where young white kids go to get their drugs because they are drug. No, no, let's keep it 100. Now, hold on. Wait. Because we don't manufacture guns in Chicago. We don't even have a gun shop. What did you say, Hannah? The Wild Hundreds? They don't even call them
Yes,
the hundreds. They call them
exactly.
the wild hundreds.
Hundreds. The
Oh
wild,
yes,
wild hundreds.
hundreds.
So
Don't
you
don't
have
think
those
I can't
areas
code
like
switch. I got it. Trust and believe.
you have like you saying, Hannah, you have the hundreds, and you also have
The
you have
hundreds.
K Town and you have O Block. There is no National Guard, no ICE people,
Wait a
nobody
minute. Hold on,
going down
Chappelle.
those blocks. You
Stop
know why? Because they
it.
would take it to them.
Can you imagine the homies? You all
They
can open
would
up your
take it
mics.
to
Wait
them.
a minute. Can you
Come on,
imagine
they won't
that
come on.
National Guard women, your homies from Texas, because that's who's here, Ron. Can you imagine them going into the Wild Hundreds?
Listen, honey, look,
I can't imagine them coming out.
the Wild Hunteds
Ooh.
wins. And
Oh,
so they're not there because like I say, those black brothers over there, they gonna give it to them. They gonna be they got AK-47s too. They gonna be out there. It's gonna be a war zone. Not that I would cause, but what I'm
woo.
saying is that this was never about curtailing violence. This is about immigration, and that's the area that they are. And so when he's saying that they're being met with violence, and I'm like I said, I'm in ground zero, and what I'm seeing ICE coming down my streets. They make me feel unsafe because they have AK-47s and they're going through backyards and everything like that, looking for people to snatch up off the streets.
But
That's what I'm
wait.
living
Hold
with.
it. I want you to make the point. They are not going to do that in the Wild Hundreds. They are not going. They know who. Come on, you can open up your mic. It's okay, Ron. It's true. They're not going to go for these people. Oh no. They know what's
No,
up.
listen. First of all, you cannot even walk down the block in the Wild Hundreds. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got you got a gun. Oh, you finna beat me with 4 or 5 people on the street. That's
No,
how they roll. You
You
know,
got
and so
one gun and a couple of homies with you. Like that's not gonna suffice.
look,
First off,
they own
they
the
are
block.
they are
They
frightened of
own
those
the block.
guys. Are you
Right,
joking me?
right,
They
Chill.
own the block. They own the block. So it's like you're sitting up here. You're like, okay, I mean, they protect the people that's on the block, but
That's
they
wait.
own the block.
Wait a minute. Would you come on now? Because that was always everybody's got their enforcers. And these
Mhm.
people have been enforcers. Something has happened, but there were people who were not touched in the neighborhood. You didn't touch old people. You didn't touch
Mhm.
women. You didn't touch children. That's every neighborhood's had their enforcers. We've had those, but our enforcers have been poisoned because
Mhm.
drugs were dropped in our community.
Right.
And you know what? The biggest these kids come in from the wealthy areas, and their parents do, and that's where they purchase the drugs, and that's where they drop caches of guns, semi-automatics and otherwise, right by the train tracks. They're fully loaded, and they're in crates, and they know where to get them. This is not conspiracy. Everybody on our side of town knows that this is what they do. So it's like, stop playing with me. And that's why we have to look at Representative Reynolds, this mind game that's being played on us to make us compliant, to make us fearful. to say, well, I'm not going to get out here and touch this. And you know what? And I think it's good for the white community to see this, because now they're beginning to understand, like they understood at the beginning of the revolution, the Boston Tea Party. You had red, yellow. The first person killed in the American Revolution was a black man, y'all, Crispus Attucks. But he wasn't the second. You had white, black, and indigenous people who were workers, who felt that they were being undermined. And the oligarchs said, wait a minute, if they all come together, there are more of them than there are of us. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to racialize this thing. We're going to make whites serfs, indentured servants. They can work their way out of this, and they'll feel that they're superior to the people they were fighting alongside 5 minutes ago. And I'm hoping that we will evolve in our thinking, but and stop playing the game, because I'm telling you, Daryl Jones and Chappelle Wells made brilliant points to me today that made me holler. When she talked about these folks, they knew where not to go. They knew that black boys that they tackled in that Walgreens, outside of that Walgreens, they knew who he was not. Number one, he was with his family. And you heard these women frantically screaming that this was their aunt, this was their nephew. What, are you serious? So, everybody don't buy into this garbage. Representative Reynolds, and what have you sent up here to Chicago? You sent us your National Guard.
Look, I think this is it's a farce, and I am appalled that other people of good conscience are not calling it out. As your brother, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, said, we may not agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on many issues, but at least she's speaking out on some issues, particularly when it comes to healthcare and
Gaza,
and releasing the Epstein. So the reason why I bring that up is, where are the other voices of the Republican Party? Where are they at on this? Silence is complicity.
That's right.
And so I think that really, sometimes it's cliche-ish, but I really mean this when I say this. I think that history will look back on this period and say, what the hell were they doing? And I think that history will judge poorly the people in leadership that failed to stop it. Just kind of like we go back and look at how did Hitler get away with this crap? How did this and that happen? Well, I think that we're going to have to account for our actions. And I don't think that history, once you pull back the curtain and you step away from the present day situation, how did y'all let President Trump get away with all this stuff? Where was the checks and balances? And so I do believe that this is the time for real people to stand up with good conscience. And I get it. It's kind of scary when you see that the current Attorney General of New York is being indicted. A former director of the FBI has been indicted. A intelligence person is being indicted. This person is being indicted. That person is being indicted. I get it. That it's kind of scary for you to speak out for fear of retribution, right? But I do think that the more of us do it, the more insulated you are, because right now you have a few sitting targets because most people aren't saying anything. And so the people that are, their voices are very loud because no one else is saying anything. So I think that there's strength in unity and masses, and we need a revolution. Just like we saw yesterday with the No Kings rally, the 7 million plus or whatever the number is, we need those same voices and more saying enough is enough. President Trump, blah, blah, blah. I think, and then follow with action. As Shapiro was saying, we need action. And I think that people aren't seeing enough from Hakeem Jeffries. I like him, I respect him, but that's been the consensus that I'm hearing.
What are you hearing?
Him and Schumer weren't even at the no
Him and
candidate.
Schumer, yeah, both of them. I was
How
going to say
you
his name
are the
next.
leaders of both party of the Senate and the House, and you're not there supporting the people? That Democrats have no message,
Well, that's
and
the
that's their
problem
biggest
people are having
downfall.
with the Democrats on that is that time and time again, as things are getting rougher and rougher, they're trying to play centrist. Centrist is gone. Pick a space. I think that the majority of the people in the country are more centrist in their politics, but the idea that we will stop fighting in order to say, well, let's see if we can find some consensus. They weren't looking for consensus on the on the young Republicans chat group. The vice president wasn't looking for consensus when he gave a nod to white supremacy. Boys will be boys. So we need people to step up. Yes, Hakeem Jeffries, be there. Be at the rally, speak at the rally, stand with the people, and the Democrats across the board either need to step up or get moved aside.
Hakeem voted for Charlie Kirk Day.
Wait a minute.
That
I need
tells
you
you
to.
everything.
I can't hear you, Chaparral.
I said Hakeem voted for Charlie Kirk Day.
Mm,
That's all we need to know.
mm,
And you can
You
add to
know,
that future,
that's why
Pearl.
that's why they call him APAC Shakur.
Yeah, yeah, and you can
And
add
that's
to
what his
that,
money.
Chaparral.
He worried about his money.
Right,
mm,
because as soon as when we were having the rally right at the Supreme Court regarding the redistricting in the Clay case, uh, Hakeem didn't show up. He did not show up. Representative Al Green was there. Okay,
He
he
sure
was there.
was.
And so it's one of those things where I think we again we talk about the accountability once folks are elected.
mm,
We got to call on our elected officials to be accountable. There's no way that you as a person of color, let me break it on down a little more. There's no way as you a black person who's representing the black district don't show up the Supreme Court when the court's about to make a decision to mess up the power of the black community. You show up. You show up. You don't even have to say a word, but you need to be there because
right.
the reason that we're electing these folks is for them to be at the table speaking up for us. If
No,
you're
no,
not in the room, how are you going to be at the table and how are you going to speak up?
no. Now this is where we have problems. We continue to say, "I want someone who looks like me." So we're playing a color game too, and you got to stop. You have to demand someone who thinks like me and who puts my best interest
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
Now, we can't accuse other people of a color game and be guilty of it ourselves. But also, to be fair, we have an expectation that you will carry this experience with you. And I get it. That having been said, what we have to do is say, wait, 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 wait. Now, if you are not there, what are you there for?
Yeah.
I mean, and you have to do that with anyone because there were a lot of things that we did not ask of President Obama. And I understand it because we'd never been there before.
Hmm.
We were very, very, we wanted him to be okay. And we loved the look. We loved his wife, his children, all of that. We loved all of that. We were just excited. But you can't just be excited to be somewhere.
Mhm.
That's not going to work. You can't just be excited to go to the White House and have the meeting. Not when the books have shown that he had contempt for the Black Caucus and wouldn't meet with them. And we knew that in real time, but no one would say anything. You thought Jesse Jackson was just a problem. And for the record, Reverend never said that he would cut a part of his anatomy. He said that if he did not stop talking down to Black people, somebody would do that.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what y'all did. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not going to hold back. I don't need to. No, no, I don't.
No, no, I'm
Because
laughing because I'm like, when do you ever bring it?
I'm
you
right.
know, go ahead.
I'm serving it up
Right.
Yes.
because I saw someone who would have given his life for you,
Hmm.
and you threw him under the bus.
Mhm.
And then you let someone go free who had the power. He has the power to do so much now. I need him there. What the hell? You are a constitutional lawyer and professor. You should be standing up at the Supreme Court. You
Right.
ain't got nothing to lose now. You have nothing to lose.
Hmm.
Hakeem has got some things to lose, but he's gonna lose my support if he doesn't stand up. But this guy has nothing to lose. I need you to stand up and do something.
Mhm.
but we won't ask him to do anything. So shame on us. I
Well,
still got
people,
people calling Reverend, and he's in a wheelchair.
people have been asking Hakeem and Leader Schumer to endorse Mandani, and and they won't do it. And
And they won't touch. They will not touch State Senator Omar Fateh up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They act like he does not even exist. And shame on them. This is a young black progressive who won the way that you win the nominations in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. He won.
So
And
this is root
they tried
rot,
and they
right?
tried to
This
bury
this
him.
is
But
root rot. What we've got.
hold
Mhm,
on one
go ahead.
moment. AM 950 Radio. If you want more of this, you need to tune in to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I'm loving you, everybody. I'm going to keep on going, but we're going to cut the show off for here. But keep it on. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Dr. Alia Amar, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, Attorney General. Maybe I'm going to give you a new job, Daryl Jones. Okay. Of course, on WOL on in DC every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. But that's Attorney Daryl Jones. At this time, he's still the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. I don't know what else he's going to do. We made Jonathan, my brother, Congressman Jackson, wants you to run for governor in Texas. Representative Reynolds, he's going to make you do that. And we're going to put Pearl in office. I'm afraid to do that, but that's going to happen. So, oh boy. But what were you about to say, Dr. Amar?
I was saying that we've got a lot of root rot. We have a lot of people that we think we've put into positions so that they can work for us and protect us. And at this particular time when things are dangerous, I mean, let's all just face it, things are dangerous. And they're not standing up in the way that we need them to. They're not taking the risks that leaders take. Leaders don't have the uh, the right, well, not the right, leaders don't have the space to simply worry about their own comfort.
No, they
They are
don't have the
not
right.
there for
They
their
don't have the
own.
right. They don't have the right. No.
Okay,
Now,
then
now, now,
then then I'm fine with that one too.
no.
You
Let me
know,
say this. When
they
I think
can't
of
worry
Fannie
about
Lou,
their own comfort. They're
wait.
there to worry about us.
Let me say this. When I think of Fannie Lou Hamer, you owe her more than that. I don't
Hmm.
have time for that.
Hmm.
You owe Frederick Douglass.
Yes,
No, you owe Booker T. Washington. You owe Mary McLeod Bethune. What are you
yes,
talking about? You absolutely owe them.
yes.
And you don't have the right. I did not risk my life. I watched Reverend put on a bulletproof vest and coat.
Hmm.
And he walked out the door knowing that he might not come back. And we knew it too.
Hmm.
And you know what he said? Okay, it's all, you know what? He sat down with his 5 children and said, if I don't come back, I expect you to go to school so that you can be educated and pick up the baton and go.
But that's the difference between a leader and a person holding a leadership position.
No,
Those are two
I
different
know the
things.
difference, but you know what? I'm tired of it because I elect you to go there and do something for me. We've got people who are starving, Dr. Omar. I don't need to tell you that.
Yes,
Well, I mean, it's like, what are you talking? What are you doing?
yes.
You are wasting my time. We have the Yale University said 50,000 people a year will die. 20 plus million people are going to lose access to health insurance. Are you serious? We need a universal single payer system. Somebody needs to have the courage to step forward and say that. The last time you had FDR, Teddy Roosevelt, and Truman who tried to do it, but they said, no, you know what's going to happen? See, it's the immigrants right now, it's the migrant workers. But before, Black people are going to get free stuff. So we can't give them that. Okay, well, you know what? You can't hurt me without hurting yourself. That's what my mama says. So now ain't nobody got it. So you're going to have a lot of sick people who are going to pass around a lot of germs, and a lot of people who have insurance are going to get sick and die. How about that part?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, you have doctors right now, so we're not being paid. Like as the government decides
Say
to
that part.
stay in this endless shutdown, they are not processing Medicare claims. And so our patients don't realize it. Sometimes patients come in and they're like, you don't care about me, you just care about the money. What money? What money? Right? Um, you know, it, first of all, there is now a person leading the country who feels that no commitment is something that has to be honored. And so, even the idea of paying furloughed federal workers is up for grabs because maybe some of these people don't really do jobs that we need. If somebody gets up in the morning, if they get out of bed and they go to a job and they work that job, you needed that job. I don't care what that job is. If it's the person handing you food in the cafeteria, that's because you're hungry and you can't do your job if you're hungry. So that cafeteria worker is essential. You want to stop
Absolutely.
disease inside of your hospital? Make sure that the janitor is paid because the janitor is the most important person in the building. He's the one managing true infection control. But when it comes down to paying doctors right now, we are submitting claims with no idea of when they will be paid, and with this president, if they
If
will be paid. How long do you think your average doctor really can go without being able to collect money for work they have performed? And we are not contractually able to then back charge that onto the patient because that violates Medicare, but Medicare is violating us right now. So a whole lot of things are wrong. And when I saw 7 million people out there, I was glad that they are disrupting the fear that would allow us to wind up capitulating to this madness.
well, you know what? I hope and pray that what's going to happen is, you know what? The more we get squeezed,
Hmm.
I think it's, diamonds are made under pressure. And I certainly am not hoping, wishing for anyone to be in pain. But somehow or another, and I've even found this in my own life, sometimes, Jesus came to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comfortable. Many of
Hmm.
us got very, very comfortable.
Hmm.
And so now what we've got to do is become uncomfortable. Okay? A
Yeah.
lot of white people felt that they were in the power position. And now they're beginning to see that they're under the boot too.
Yes.
You know?
Isn't that the funny thing about the boot?
No,
You
but
know
that's the funny thing
that.
about life. You got to be very careful. I watch
Yeah.
how people treat other people.
Hmm.
If you're going to be good to the least of these, then
Hmm.
I can trust your behavior with me. Not because I'm the daughter of someone well known, famous, influential, powerful. No, 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 no. That's not my gauge. My gauge is, I remember, I'll never forget, I went to do a television show in Detroit, and this man has become a very dear friend. And he was really high up in law enforcement, and he was taking me around for the day. And when it came time for lunch, he said, "Yeah, I'd like to take you to lunch." I said, "Okay, good," because I was up there like all day.
Hmm.
And he said, "I want you to know how much I appreciate how you." I said, "How?" He said, "How you are." I said, "Okay." I said, "That's very kind." He said, "No, no, no, no. When you walked into the television station, the first person that you greeted was the janitor,
Hmm.
and you asked them their name, you shook their hand, and the person, and I remembered because he was a little thrown off, and I was like, "Well, what is your name?" And then the person at the front desk, and as we walked, I was saying hello to everybody before I got to the
Right.
producer and the host and blah blah blah. See, what you don't know is that my great grandmother was someone's housekeeper,
Hmm.
and when I was a little girl, my great grandmama Tibby used to take me to Mrs. Marshall's house.
Hmm.
Little white lady, she was lovely,
Hmm.
and she took a liking to me, and we would have tea while my great grandmama cleaned and cooked for her. And so maybe a few years later, when we got a housekeeper, not a maid, but a housekeeper, I saw my great grandmama. There's a wonderful song by Joni Mitchell, Both Sides Now. I'm seeing life from both sides now. If you keep on living, everybody, God will give you a chance to get on the other side of what you thought about someone, said about someone, to stop.
Hmm.
And this is a moment that we're living in for everybody. because I saw a lot of black folks get comfortable, Dr. Amar Shapiro.
Yes.
A lot of us, we got these jobs, we got real comfortable, and we forgot that you had advocates out here who were pushing and who said, if you fire 300, you aren't going to fire 300,000 black people black women on my watch. You aren't going to do it on Reverend's watch. That's why I love Barack Obama. I have known Barack since I remember Michelle telling me about him. And I don't talk about them much because I don't, even though I have the space to, they are personal friends and I don't discuss personal friends. I don't. Michelle is free to write her book and say whatever she wants to about me. That's great. She said some lovely things and I'm happy about that. And I appreciate it.
She did.
I still don't discuss her because I grew up in public life. She didn't. So I don't want to. Her story is her story to tell, and I'm going to tell mine, and that's it. But I've known him in excess of 40 years. Almost 40 years because they started dating around 89. And I said, I've known him a long time, and so I have great expectations, and I still have great expectations of what he should be doing right now, and I'm a push. And I'm not going to start off with this caveat, well, I really love him, but no, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And you don't have time for that either. We showed you how much we loved you and how much we put our hopes and dreams on you. And I need you to come through for me. I need you to come through for all of us. Now I need you at that Supreme Court. I need you making phone calls. With your influence, I don't need to see you with George Clooney.
Right.
I need to see you with Chicken George. How about that part? Yeah, look, I'm giving it to you the way I think we need it.
No, I think we need to see Obama come back, President Obama to come back and,
To the community.
lead to the community and lead because we had a good example, I think, of a former president really joining with the people and serving the people again for the remainder of his life, and Jimmy Carter.
That was it.
He
He was
didn't,
it.
yeah, he didn't disappear from the scene. And I understand that there's the presidential tradition of kind of, stepping back, letting your next guy do his own thing. But sometimes you just can't do normal. And when the next guy is doing things like making AI videos in the middle of the night of dropping feces on American protesters, come on, we left normal ages ago.
But
You know,
wait a minute. Let me tell you something. Billy Carter, Jimmy Carter's brother,
right, I remember.
who was a real Southern white man.
Hmm.
Okay. And his daughter
Hmm.
endorsed Reverend in 88 and went out campaigning for them.
Yes.
Okay. Jimmy Carter, he is the gold standard.
Hmm.
Now, and he still lived in that house that they modeled, Sears and Roebuck used to send you architectural plans for a house and they sent you all the material. They still lived in that house and they were happy to do it.
Hmm.
Now, I realize that other people come at this from a different space. But I can tell you this as a black person, you don't have that kind of protection. You don't have that kind of space because I didn't put you there for that because that's not our history. I don't care where you came from. I know you're not connected to slavery. I get it. You said that. I didn't say it. He did. But I tell you what, people who were enslaved and people who came out of colonialism like you did, put you in there to at least give us a little hope. And that's what he needs to do. He owes it to us. And that's it. The night we spoke and introduced Reverend at the Democratic Convention, and Abby Phillips spoke about that. She said, I was born 3 months after that. But I went back and saw the tapes, and to see a black family with all that they had said about Reverend, Pulitzer Prize winner Clarence Page said, that night I was in the newsroom and watched the 5 of you come to that microphone. He said, when we saw that, every controversial bit about Reverend, we forgave. Because we saw him as a father, as a family man, and we were clear that you couldn't produce 5 children like that unless you'd been there with them. See, and my father said that night he made us ride in one car for four people, all seven of us in that back seat. Don't ask me how we did it. It looked crazy, and it felt crazy. He said, tonight we're going to do something, and we're going to show America something that they've probably never seen before, a black family.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not for you. This is for somebody who doesn't have a daddy,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who doesn't have a mama, somebody who has no money, someone who has been discounted. So he said, this is for your great grandma who's in the next car, who was going into dementia then. She can't read or write. She almost didn't vote for me, but she didn't want the world to know that she couldn't write. She couldn't read. It's for Esther Thompson, the lead usher at Rainbow Push. She was the color of midnight, and she was 4'11", but she would have given her life before she let you go there, Reverend, on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
But she cleaned toilets
Mm-hmm.
during the week out in Robbins, Illinois. But on Saturday, she was the queen.
Mm-hmm.
She opened Push and closed it. Wait, I'm talking about some stories. Okay? You don't have that kind of space. My mother was speaking at a church down in Alabama, a church where you could not, as a woman, you couldn't stand in the pulpit. No matter, we were honored that my mother said the fact that the pastor let us come in, I was excited because I knew if I couldn't stand in the pulpit, having a woman speak was a revolutionary act.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, in the black church tradition, people used to walk around. You would, the pastor would stand at the door and would shake everyone's hand as they left. Or you stand at the base of the pulpit and people would make their rounds. And this man came to her and said, I want to thank you, ma'am, for coming. And I want you to let your husband know that he's running for my baby. My mother said, what is your baby's name? She was one of the four little girls.
Mm. Oh my.
My mother came back, she said,
Oh.
and she was tearful for days. She said, when I saw that, and he had like $5 or $10 he pulled together because our people had no money.
Right.
He said, I just want you to know he's ready. I want Reverend to keep on running because he's running for my baby. Wait a minute. So I'm sorry. Enslaved people built that White House twice because it was burned in
Mm-hmm.
1912.
Yes.
You ain't got that space. You don't. You owe.
Yeah.
You owe. That's the only reason you're there.
Yeah.
You owe. So I want to hear that. All I know is that you owe. You have a whole lot of people who are depending on you, and you need to come through. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need cuteness. I don't need that. I don't need you to be a movie star. And even if you're a movie star, I need you to be Ruby D and Ossie Davis. That's what I need you.
Right.
I
Right.
need you to lift us up. I need you to be Brock Peters. That's what I need you to be, Ira Aldrich. I need
Mm-hmm.
you to be Leontine Price. I need you to be Roberta. I need you to be
Paul
Aretha and
Robeson.
Dion. I need you to be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need you to be Les McCann and Gil Scott Heron. I need that.
Yeah.
That's why you're there. I need you to be Sam Cooke.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to be Otis Redding, who died fighting to own himself, like Sam Cooke did.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not going to do that, then I need you to be. That's what Michael was doing. If you're not going to do that, then shut up and get out of my face. I don't need that. I don't deserve that.
But you know what? We need the people with platforms to be as strong as our ancestors have been. And we need the people without platforms to be as strong as our
Absolutely.
ancestors have been. Because not everybody got their name known, but everybody knew what was at stake. And people whose names we do not know, but whose memories we must honor because they paved the way for the life that we have led,
Right.
they they deserve something from us that we haven't given yet. And we don't have any right to fail. We don't have any right to be tired. We don't have any right to stand and say, I'm not, I'm going to be afraid. Afraid. I've never felt a whip on my back. I've never had anybody burn a cross on my lawn. Yeah, my grandmother, I was telling somebody today that my grandmother had to fight the Klan off. You know,
Ooh.
there's another interesting story in which some white man came in and attempted to assault her, and she removed a part of one man's anatomy, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Thank
oh
you.
yes, yes, my grandmother was unafraid. But there's an instance where my uncle had been playing with one of the white children because poor white people lived next to black farms, and white people and black people did things together. And my grandmother went out. She was known for being able to hunt and dress animals, I guess, like, taking the skin off and prepping them after they've been killed or whatever. And so she went out and did this after her husband passed away, and she had 8 children. And so my grandmother knew the people that showed up on her lawn when my uncle had been playing with his white friend in the woods, and they set a little fire and it got out of control. Well, they weren't going to, harm his white friend, but they came to lynch my uncle. They came to my grandmother's farm and demanded that she send her child out so that they could lynch him for the forest fire thing. And my grandmother armed all of the children, and she fired a shot past a man's ear. And he said, "You almost blew my head off." And my grandmother said, "You know me well enough to know that I could have shot your head off. That was a warning shot. If I wanted to, I could have blown you away. I know who's up under those hoods, and I'm not sending my son out. But if you put a toe on my land, you will be buried today." And that was that. I didn't have to live that. I inherited that story as, like, the badass story of my grandma, Um, but I didn't live that. And so for all of the people who changed the world for us, we must now change the world for our grandchildren and for the future generations. I don't care if anybody ever remembers my name, to be honest, but I hope to God that I do something good. And I'll end with this last thing just to put a little hope in people's minds. I have to run, unfortunately. Um, in my faith, in the Muslim faith, there's a saying that if you have a seed in your hand on when the hour of judgment, when the day of judgment comes, plant that seed. Um, you are never to give up hope. You are never to think that you know how the story ends or that it is ending at all. You are not here for this moment. You are here because this moment contributes to the story that God has been telling since the creation of His universe, and a story that does not end until the end of His universe. And so use whatever voice you have. Don't give your fear over to anybody. Share your fear with God. Share your fear in your private moments with your family and get a good hug or whatever, but you fight for yourself and you fight for the future. But most of all, you fight to honor the people that gave you the voice that you at least have right now. And on
Amen.
that, thank you so much, my
I
sister.
love you, my sister, and thank you for that. Chapeau, with both barrels, what's on your mind before we go?
Well, it's been great listening to everyone's opinion, but like I said earlier, Santita, my thing is that now that we've done the No King's Day, and we've done all these marches, and I know that they're trying to get up to 9 million people, 10 million people to protest against this, but what is the ask? No one could tell me what the ask is. What are we asking for? What is it that we need? I think those are questions that we must answer in order for us to really engage the people into helping us and supporting the cause. I wanted to before Daryl left, I wanted to hear more about this phone call he was on. Next time you have him on, maybe he'll give us more detail
I'll ask
about
him
what is the
tomorrow.
plan. What is the plan? Because everybody with this no king, there I don't see a plan. We need a plan.
You know what? Let me tell you something. If you are not going out and registering people to vote, I need to hear from Texas. What are you planning to do to register 900,000 people to vote? You got all them big churches down there. You got you've got a lot of powerful people in Texas. What are you planning to do? I'm with you. You need to be out here registering people to vote, and you don't need a grant to do that. Reverend did it with no money, but he had the intention, he had a mind to help us to get free. That was his assignment from Dr. King, and he never faltered and never stopped. Never stopped. What are you going to do? I didn't say, what are you going to do? I said, what you going to do? And it's not just for Black people. Please don't do that. This is for everybody. When the least of that, what you've done unto the least of these, you've also done unto me. Jesus said it. When you help the boat stuck at the bottom, you help everybody rise. And that's what it's about. I'm not going to sit around here, Chaparral, and say, oh my goodness, as a Black person, I'm tired and everybody won because I won. You can't be that selfish. My mother said, if God wanted us on top of those ships coming into the country, he would have put us on the top of the ships, but he put us in the bowels of the ship. There's a certain responsibility we have, and that we have had coming into this American project the way that we have. Everything that Black people have done has made America what America's supposed to be. Everything that we've done, ending slavery, teaching compassion to people who were cruel, who were dehumanizing to us. Everything we've done has made this country better. Everything we've done, if we have really followed God's arc for us, the storyline that has been written for us, we have made this country and the world a better place. And we need to continue to do that. And young MRC, what did you say? You said you participated yesterday to show that we will not just sit down for the agenda these oligarchs are trying to enact. Amen. Because really, that's what's going on. I hear you. They are trying to take over the country and the world. And you have to say no. How is it that President Trump can come up with $20 billion for Argentina? Argentina, they're putting our farmers out of business. I mean, Chaparro, come on. And if they do something else for us, they're gonna get $20 billion more. And you can't come up with $1 million for a city? Oh, come on. You ought to be insulted by that. They're cutting checks left and right, right and left, but they're not doing it for Americans. They're busy trying to tell you that your problem is some brown person who picks your food and that they're getting free health care. It's the same game that was played. That's why we don't have a universal single payer system now, because you fell for the okey doke. Reagan instituted the law in 1986 that enables anyone, citizen or not, to to be cared for in an emergency situation. That is the requirement. That was what Reagan did. Reagan did that. So when you talk about all of these brown people and some Black people who are not documented, who come into this country, who work or who might be visiting, who go to an emergency room that you pay for, well, yeah, Reagan did that. Reagan did that in 1986. In 1986. Stop getting played. We need a universal single payer system. You need to get rid of health insurance, the health insurance companies. They're not doing anything. They are robbing us. They're the ones who will win because they're the ones who you have to buy health insurance from. Aren't you tired of that? Don't you think we need to have a universal single payer system? Look at the VA system. Look at the UK system. Look at the Canadian system. See where the holes are, plug them up, and let's go. How about that?
Not only are people worried about their health care, Santita, but a lot of my friends who are receiving public assistance, such as
Mm.
WIC and food stamps, they have gotten a notice to say because of the government shutdown, you may not receive your SNAP benefits for the month of November. So,
So wait a minute. So you do know that they're still going to go to the grocery store. You do know that means you better watch yourself in the grocery store because somebody's going to do something in that grocery store because people are not going to walk around America and not eat Pearl. I know that. I'm not inciting anything. I'm just letting you know where this is going. Did you ever see the movie John Q with Denzel Washington? Did you
Yes.
ever see that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That was very real.
Yeah.
Well, this man saw his son dying and he held up the emergency room until they found his son a heart. And then he ultimately said, "You know what? I'll kill myself. Just give my heart to my baby. Just do that. Have a heart, everybody. If anyone gets sick here, they ought to be able to get they ought to be made whole here. That's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. It's that thinking that's kept us all away. It's kept healthcare away from everybody. Because you think somebody's getting free stuff. The things that they said about that they're saying about people who are not here, who are here undocumented, and the healthcare that they're going to get, they say that about black people. That's what they've been saying. So you know what? The healthcare industry, they have done nothing but get richer, while our health has gotten poorer. We are sicker than we've ever been because we're not getting the healthcare that we need. The number one driver of bankruptcies in the United States are your health care bills. Does that not make does that make sense to you? It ought to be something that infuriates you. It should not incite you to do anything foolish or rash or violent. It should excite you that you have the power to change it. You really do. We don't have to live this way. We're living this way because we've chosen to live this way. You've got to stop. Everybody deserves to be healthy. Healthcare should not be a privilege, it is a right, a fundamental right. And we need to start treating it that way, Chaparral. Everybody's got a right to the tree of life. Everybody should have food, clothing, and shelter. We need to have a we need to have an education system that educates everybody in a most excellent way on the academic or the vocational track, whatever it is. You need to have that. We need that. You deserve that. There's some basic rights that you need and that you deserve. You should never see anyone as the other. Someone should be your sister and your brother. That's the way that ought to be. So, Chaparral, I know it's almost time for us to go to bed. It is we ran real late tonight, but we've had a great time, you and I, tonight. You agree,
Yes.
Heidi Moore Reynolds? Girl, you got a lot of names. Heidi Moore Reynolds Reeves. I ain't mad at you, girl. I love it. I love it. I'm here for all of it. And Hannah up there in South Carolina. That's right, John Howland. Would you say facts? No, healthcare is a human right. It is. And we have to treat it that way.
Hmm. Most
And
definitely.
and you have to treat people like they matter. Like they matter, because they do. People deserve to be able to go. You should not feel a lump and say, I've got to forget about it because you know what? I can't afford the treatment anyway. A lot of women are doing that. And it's not just black women. A lot of people are doing it. A lot of people. You have a tooth that hurts. Do you know that if a tooth rots in your head, that can kill you? Wait a minute. No, everybody, that needs to change. And Hannah, you liked us hosting tonight. We're gonna call this Santita After Dark. Oh, Santita After Dark. I don't know. It's because I got tied up with my day, but I called my friends late, and they said that they would join us. And I'm glad you came. I'm glad you joined us too. I am. I am. You like being this late? Let me know real quick, because Chaparral and I are about to close this out. Let me know. Did you all like it being up this late? A lot of you showed up. But Chaparral, what do you want to say before we go?
I want to say, Santita, that I think that where we're going, I'm glad that everybody is excited. glad that people are unifying, but we do have to have tangible plans. I myself have been calling for economic boycott, definitely for Christmas, Black Friday. We need to
Mhm.
do a straight boycott.
Now, wait a
And
minute. For
I'm
you,
a for
that is
me, this is
huge.
huge, right?
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute, you all. This girl, I think she spends the night at the stores. Right? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Haven't you changed your Thanksgiving day?
Yes, I did. Cause so I can
Let,
make sure I we always do it on Wednesday, so I can make sure I'm at the store on Thursday.
uh,
So
uh,
you
uh,
know that this is huge for me.
oh gosh!
For me to call for economic boycott and boycott, I already told the kids, I'm like, look, I'm gonna give y'all some money, but I am not going to the store. So they can't believe it. They are
I
challenging
can't.
me.
I can't.
They are
I mean,
challenging me.
I'm. Look, I just want you to know we got a hospital bed for you because you're gonna be stretched out, honey. I know it. I know. This. Wait a minute, everybody. Chaparral does not celebrate Thanksgiving on Thursday. She does it on Wednesday because she's got to be in the stores on Thursday. Do you know how important this is? Hannah,
So
Laura,
you can
Heidi,
see
that's
that
crazy.
this
John.
is extremely important to me
Whew.
to put on this boycott. I'm doing my own personal boycott, and I told my children, I told everyone, like, look, this year I'm just doing this for us. I just feel like I have to stand up for something, and for me, this is a big thing. And I think that people are doing their own protests, their own rollbacks in their own way. We may not be on the streets because, like I said, I don't feel it's safe for Black people to be on the street in the protest because every time that we were out there, we were actually assaulted.
Mm.
And I see how aggressive they are when they see people of color, whether it be brown or Black. They are extremely aggressive. And like I said, I just don't want to be hurt. And we want to live through this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be strategic in way, and I think that the ways that we could actually impact it and make them actually move faster in our favor is by doing an economic boycott. And I think no better time than Christmas to start this boycott.
Well, okay, Laura Bell is with you. But bless your heart. For Chaparral to do this, this is not just huge, it's huge. I can't believe that she is going to step back from this. But you know what? I think it's important. Um, and please, everybody, make sure that you register people to vote. You can become a registrar. I'm going to get someone on here. I'm going to get Betty Magnus on here, Chaparral, so we can talk about becoming voter registrars so that you can register people to vote wherever you are. We need to over index in the vote. That's how we can fight back against this gerrymandering. What did you say? Was it young MRC? You were very surprised that you didn't see ICE yesterday. Hey, was that amazing? And you know what you did see? You saw the Chicago police standing up and protecting the people. Chaparral, there was a long line of police cars when you got downtown. They were a blockade against anybody who was coming in to be disturbing to the marchers, to people who gathered for the No Kings Day march. Think about that, everybody. And
And I think we have to thank Brandon for that because he
oh,
has been really protecting us.
he has been.
Unfortunately, the state police, what I've seen in our area, the state police have been the most aggressive towards the protesters and in the Broadview site. It's
Is
always
it the state police or the local police for?
state police.
Okay.
That's the one who's guarding the Broadview site, detention center, Broadview Detention Center, and they're out there and they're becoming very aggressive. And so I wanted to say something to the governor tonight about that. I said, but no, I'll just let him be.
Oh,
I was like, okay, let me roll this back in my mind and let's shut my mouth. Nice to meet
oh,
you, Governor.
oh, gosh. Oh, my. What am I going to do with Pearl? I mean, I said, get over here. So you got to take this picture with the governor. And you were just looking very sheepish. Now I understand why. You were trying to figure out whether you were going to hurt my heart. But we gotta deal with him on redistricting, because the way he's chopping up these new districts, Congressman Jonathan Jackson could lose his seat, which is the longest held seat by an African American in the history of the republic. And uh, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr.'s former seat, the seat that he formerly held, and the seat that he is seeking once again, um, they're cutting him out of it too, and that comes from Springfield. That comes from the governor. So we need to ask him about that. We do need to ask him about that. And he said some wonderful things about our family and about Reverend and the family, but that this is not about Congressman Jonathan Jackson or former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. This is about you having representation, your representation. We have 62 members of the Black Caucus now. I think Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. said what, within the next couple of years we could be down to 30.
He said by 2026 we can be down to 30.
Okay, that's next year. We could be down to 30. And remember, after Reconstruction, after we went into the Congress and we went into the lower house and we had 2 U.S. senators, we went down to 0. Think about that, everybody. And see, it's what Black people represent, everybody. It's what, Kim Teehee, who represents the Cherokee Nation, she's supposed to be seated as a voting member of Congress. They have not seated her yet. Kim Teehee, Teehee. Now that's a shame. How
And
is
it's
it?
been what, 4 years for her, right?
It's been, well, Miss Grijalva, they've refused to seat her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike Johnson, how are you not going to swear? How are you not going to swear her in? How can you justify that? Oh, because she's got that Epstein vote? Really? Guess what? Truth crushed to the earth is going to rise again. You're not going to be able to hold that back. Clyburn's seat is on the line. What'd you say? Literally. Oh, yeah. We haven't seen anything yet. But I tell you what, the good news is this. If you get registered to vote and you vote your strength, you can hold these seats. And you hold these seats not just to keep people in them who look like you or people who you think might do something because of their history. You need to find out what people's positions are. Find out what they are and hold them to account. We need people in these elective offices at the federal, state, county, and local levels who are going to fight for us. That's what we need. I think you need to pay public servants much, much more. Take the financial incentives out of them. Give them $1 million a year and take care of the housing. Yeah, I said it. Do it. Because when you pay people well, you have money where you can tell people to get out of your face. Let me put it very nicely, Chappelle. Because this little money that people in the House of Representatives and Congress make, that's nothing. One of the most expensive cities in the world to live in is Washington, D.C. because it's so wealthy. Because it's the center of power for the Western world, the center of power for the Western world. So there's lots and lots of money there. When you get to Washington, and you've seen it, Chappelle, you see it's money. It's money all around. Take this away from them. Just stop it. Just pay folks. Pay people in Springfield. The people, Ron Reynolds and his colleagues in the state house of Texas make $600 a month. Are you serious? Chappelle, you know that's ridiculous. $600 a month? What what are
Yeah,
you
that's
doing?
crazy. What you gonna do with that?
What are you gonna do with that?
That ain't even gas money.
That's nothing. You need to pay people and you need to pay them a lot of money so that they are bribe proof. You need to have a publicly funded election system. So you take all of these donors and lobbyists out of the lobbying business. Just take them out of business. Take the health insurance companies out, take them out of business. Put them out of business. You need to, and before you tell me that you don't want anything that's government run, let me tell you something. Boeing, most of their money comes from government contracts. Larry Ellison has become a very, very wealthy man off of government contracts. That's how these people get wealthy. That's how they get wealthy. That's how Elon Musk gets wealthy. He makes $8 million a day from you and me. Jeff Bezos, government contracts. That's how they make money. They make money off of you and me. So don't tell me about what the government can do. What they want to do is own the government. They want to privatize everything. They want to fire all of these postal workers so they can hire them back for nothing. I flew out. I take Southwest all the time. Love it. And they're changing all the rules around. They're making them as expensive as the other airlines. So I'm going to start going to other airlines. And you know what I found out? That as they made this change, number one, they sold the airline. And I knew everybody I knew all of the sky caps because I would fly out of there regularly. But I noticed something. A lot of the portals for the sky caps were empty. You want to know why? Because they were all offered buyouts. And many of them who were getting close to pension time, they didn't make pension. Oh, they've been treated horribly. 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 So that the corporation can make more money. Come on, y'all. This is awful. Awful. And so I asked this sky cap, I said, so what happened? He said, well, now they basically they almost have no benefits. It's shameful. It's shameful. That's what's happening to everybody. And you ought to be tired of it. And you ought to fight for the least of these. Because if they've been offended, you should be offended too. And if you keep on living, guess what? It will be you. A lot of these folks who had some really nice, high-paying jobs, they don't have them anymore. It doesn't make me feel good. Having said that, they got real comfortable. Don't get comfortable, honey. Don't get comfortable any place. Because everybody's on the chopping block. What did George Carlin say? It's a little club and you ain't in it. I'm not in it. You're not in it. And yet God made the world and everything therein. The earth is the Lord's. It's not Elon's. It's not Mr. Bezos's. It's not Mr. Trump's. No. This belongs to the Lord. But we've got to do our work. Because we're the ones who are supposed to run the government. We're not supposed to be afraid of the government. The government should be afraid of us because we can change it over and make it what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be up for and by the people, not up for and by the oligarchs. Where I didn't want to trade off a king or queen for another form of monarchy, also known as the oligarchy. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. I want that which is fair. Everybody should be able to eat and eat well. Everyone should have a nice home. And it should be, I'm not saying you need to live in a mansion, but you should not live in squalor. That is not the world that God gave to us. And you should care for your own neighborhood. Now that's the other side of it. You should pick up the garbage and you should not let other people litter your neighborhood. Get out of the poverty consciousness. You are somebody. You need to keep hope alive. You need to study in school and you need to demand that the schools serve our children and our adults if they need to go, that these schools serve them well. You should demand that. You need to think enough of yourself to demand the best. And then you, on the other side of that, need to become your best. Don't you remember there was something Chappelle called the Sunday best? You went to church in your Sunday best. You did not go into church looking like you just rolled out of a club. Yeah, I'm going right there. You offered your highest for God's highest. And we need to do that. We need to clean up this garbage in our streets and in our hearts and in our thinking. The government's up for and by you, and you need to make this government what it's supposed to be and do for you. You have the power to do it. The next time we have another No King's March, then you need to have some voter registration tables at the edge of it. Everybody ought to walk away from that march with a voter registration card. That ought to be part of the plan. And while you're so inclined, have a march on Washington. Have a sit in on the mall so you can say, until you in poverty, we ain't moving. How about that part? You want to give some money to Argentina? Why don't you give it to Alabama first? Give it to Altadena. How about that? Whole lot of people use this money.
How about Alaska with their typhoon? They
How about that?
flooding right.
Wait a minute, how about that? I mean, come on. How about you just try to do right by people? Just do right by people. What did Aretha sing? If you want to do right, home days woman, then you got to be a do right home days man. Now come on. We can do better than that. What did you say? K Junior 9752. You said, wait, you agree leadership is needed. I will donate to a local pantry during the shutdown, but for my safety, I will only shop at Costco. You and Chappro. She's going to be there with you. The membership and buying in bulk uh, equals less chaos for me at the store. I hear you. And you know what you need to do? My mother said stock up on sugar and beans and rice because with them knocking out the migrants, we're going to lose a lot of crops. So there's some staples you need to have. Think about that. And you know what? Start sharing with your neighbors. Share with your neighbors. There was a time when you used to be able to go get a cup of sugar. My mother said stock up on sugar too. There was a time when you could do that. So let's come together, everybody. Let's start sharing. There was a time when you got a bucket of chicken, but now everybody wants an individual meal. Well, you know what? That's going to stop. You have to chop up that chicken and everybody's going to get a piece. You might not bust out of your clothes, but at least everybody will be full. They'll be satisfied. They'll be sated. So think about that. Hannah, you said, how about the farmers who had plentiful crops, but nowhere to remember that? I said that we talked about the farmers and had them on my show when I was on WCPT in Chicago. We saw that, Chappelle, remember that? During the pandemic. Crops just died because no one was there to pick the food. Come on, everybody. It's not about doing better, it's about doing well. As my Uncle Mickey said to someone who, may he rest in peace, the doctor came into his room and said, we're going to make you better. He said, then you can give me my clothes right now because I'm not here to get better. I'm here to get well. So now, everybody, I don't want a more perfect union. I want a perfect one. And we should not stop until we get there. Get it right. Chappelle, what you want to say before we go?
In the words of Russell Simmons, thank you so much. Good night. God bless.
Peace. I love you, everybody. This has been a great time on what has been After Dark. But I tell you what, you end up with some great shows, had some wonderful people, and I want to thank all of my friends. Attorney Darrell Jones, you can catch him on WOLDC every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Dr. Alia Amar, brilliant, and of course, Chappelle Wells. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my sister, and my brother friends and my sister friends, and all of you. I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Oh boy, we have been here a while tonight, but I hope that you enjoyed yourself. Please, everybody, like and share the show. Help us with the algorithm. Like and share the show, like and share, like and share, like and share. Laura Bell, Hannah, everybody, John Holloman, K Junior 9752, everybody, Hannah, Young, MRC, y'all, Andre, everybody, like and share the show. Because we look up and we find that we get like 1.5 million, couple of million views. And we were actually averaging a little more than 3 million a week until they jammed me on my algorithm. So help me, help me and help us all come together so we can start getting the real stories out, okay? So I love you all with my whole heart. It's always a joy to be with you. It's an honor. I'm honored to be with you, and I just thank you for um for sharing your time with me. I'm glad that we can occupy this time and space together. I love you all so much. Love you, Chapeau. As Dwight McKee would say, boo. I never knew what that meant, but there it was. I love you, everybody. God bless you. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. God bless.